Hello and welcome to another edition of Norco Home Buyers. This is Sean Byrne and I'm here to go over cap rates or rates of capitalization. Thanks for tuning in and let's get started. So today we'll be talking about cap rates, and I kind of want to go over what are cap rates and why are they important first. So a cap rate is a number, obviously. It's a number that real estate investors use to determine how the profit potential of a property, what the profit potential of a property is, and how risky is the investment. So people tend to say higher cap rates, more profit potential, but they're a little more risky, and vice versa for lower cap rates. So this is a good number to use in your research when you are looking for investment properties, or when you want to compare your own investment properties, for example, to help you determine if you'll be able to get passive real estate income. So that's why cap rate's important to know, because in my opinion, the higher your cap rate, the better your potential for passive income is. And so let's go over the formula of what a cap rate is. I'm going to share my screen with you real quick. And I made a nice little cap rate calculator over here to kind of help me show you guys better how to use the cap rate formula. So basically the cap rate formula is annual net operating income divided by the purchase price times 100 to give you that percentage number. So cap rates usually fall within the ballpark of 2% as a low conservative cap rate to 15% as a really, I guess, potentially risky but lucrative cap rate. Pardon me, I'm still having my breakfast oatmeal. Anyway, so as you can imagine, there's going to be different variables that affect cap rate, different market variables. So one thing that hugely affects the cap rate is location. So if you can imagine a map, and on that map you draw some concentric circles like bullseye target. The closer to the downtown area you will be, the lower the cap rate usually is, because that indicates a less risky investment, because downtown areas are usually easier to rent out your real estate. And then the further away you get from downtown, like those concentric circles I was telling you about, the higher the cap rates usually are. And so that indicates a riskier investment, because in theory it could be harder to rent out those real estate properties. Also, asset type greatly influences your cap rate. The higher quality asset types you have, the lower the cap rate will be, and vice versa, the lower quality, higher cap rates, because they're technically more risky, and then higher quality investments will technically require more maintenance as well. And then furthermore, interest rates tend to affect cap rates, because the higher the interest rates are, the less money you can make off your potential investment. So right now, in a low interest rate atmosphere or climate, cap rates tend to be favorable for investors, for more investors, because more investors can afford to get a loan. But as interest rates hike up, there'll be less investors out there that can afford that loan. So that's another factor that influences cap rates. So now that I've kind of gone over the basic gist of the cap rates, let's go over the cap rate formula. So the cap rate formula, like I had mentioned previously, is the annual net operating income divided by the purchase price of your investment, times 100 to give you a percentage. So the annual net operating income is another number you have to kind of work to find out. Well, that's your monthly gross rental income minus your monthly expenses times 12 for 12 months of the year to get your annual NOI for short. So as you can see, I have that all here. So basically with the investment properties, you will only use these variables to find out your monthly expenses. As an investor, you should only be paying for the insurance taxes, taking out percentage for vacancy, paying for your management company if you don't manage it yourself, and then also taking some out for maintenance fund. Also, water is a common utility that many investors pay for their tenants. So I have all those kind of in here and factored in for my hypothetical example of a cap rate. So as you can see, I have $2,000 as a gross monthly rental income. Insurance at $1,100 a year divided by 12. That gives me that for my monthly insurance payment. Taxes, thankfully in Colorado, property taxes are really cheap, so that keeps that number really low. And then the vacancy rate is something you take out of your income to factor in for potential vacancies. So in Colorado, that's also really low because Colorado is really popular to live in right now. So not much taken out for that. Management fee, I put in 10%. That's the average in the area. I don't pay any management fees because I manage myself. So that, in my case, that would be zero. But maybe you don't want to manage it because it can be a pain in the butt. So put in 10% for that. And then a maintenance fund. You want to take out some money each month to cover any repairs and damages you might have in the future. And you just let that build up or use it as repairs come. And then lastly, water is a common utility that landlords will pay for their tenants. So this number is my net operating income for the month in this example. So that's $2,000 minus all these expenses gives me $1,259. And then I put these other utilities in there because sometimes investors are generous and pay for those. Sometimes, if you're an owner occupant of your investment property, you might cover some of the utilities yourself since you're living in there as well. That's kind of more my case. I don't have a management fee, but I pay for utilities just because I live in my own investment property. And then so I put those in there to factor in if that might be your case. Anyway, back to the net operating income per month. So I have my monthly operating income, and I need to find out what my annual operating income will be. I like to factor in my mortgage payment for my operating income because you have to pay your mortgage each month. When you're getting like an initial number, when you're first searching for investment properties, you might not know what your mortgage payment will be. So a lot of times people don't include that into the formula. So in this hypothetical example, I put 0. And obviously the monthly takeaway won't change in that case. And you multiply that by 12. And that gives you your annual net operating income. So you use that number divided by the purchase price of the house to give you your cap rate, which is 11%. That's a good cap rate. That's kind of the gold, kind of almost a good cap rate you want to go for. You might even hear some investors that say, I don't look at anything unless it has a 12% cap rate, which that's fine. Everyone has their own strategy, but those stuff you kind of hear from new investors who are just kind of learning and like, oh my God, 12% cap rate is awesome. Anyway, just while you're doing your research, that's something to keep in mind. So 11%, that's a relatively high cap rate. It might indicate it is a risky investment, but it also might indicate that it's just potentially good investment as well. I mean, those are some other things you have to look into for yourself. And it's also good to, when you're doing your research for an investment property, it's also good to use your cap rate number with your debt coverage ratio. So your debt coverage ratio, that's the number that shows you, how much of your debt you have covered from your income on the property. So in this case, I included a few other things. Like how many years it takes to pay off certain things. So if it's an investment loan, which if you're looking for investment property, most likely they'll require you to pay 25% as your down payment on the loan. It's about $137,000. Your down payment would be $34,250. That would take you 2 years to make back your down payment, or 2.26 years to make back your down payment with your at that current annual net operating income, and then 6 years to pay off. Well, almost 7 years to pay off the entire purchase price of the house. So yeah, that's basically how you find out your cap rate. I'm going to do the same thing with an example from one of my buddy's listings on the MLS. So I'll go ahead and show you that property right here. So this is one of my friend's examples. It's a rental property just a few blocks away from my house, actually. It's an amazing property. It has 7 units, and it has a potential income of $50,000 a year. The vacancy rate is really low because it's really easy to find tenants in Greeley. Effective rental income, that's the current income right now, $49,896. Fantastic. So gross operating income will be $51,000 less taxes. Let's just skip, all your payments. So gross operating income is $51,000 minus all your monthly expenses brings you to $38,000. That's your net operating income right there. So we'll use that for we can skip the cap rate calculator, but for the sake of the example, and it already says the cap rate is 8%, which is a great number, especially for a cash flowing property like this. So what did we say? The effective rental income, gross operating income. So we'll just divide this gross number by 12. So $51,096 divided by 12 gives you a monthly income, gross monthly income of $4,258. So we'll put that in our cap rate calculator here. Nice. And then we'll put in all these bills that he has listed on the MLS sheet. So we have insurance, $2,500. And then taxes, $1,377. And then utilities, $4,020. I'll just put that. Oh, I think that's the yearly. So these are the yearly expenses on all those. So we'll do all these divided by 12. 4,020 divided by 12. Cable internet, 91. And lawn, 360 a month. $30 a month. I think that's all our expenses covered. Great. Oh, I forgot the common area maintenance, $2,400. We'll just add that to other as well. So we'll make this $230. Purchase price. All right, we have our net operating income. Now, so our net operating income each month after all those expenses is $2,156. The purchase price would be that. And net operating income, monthly takeaway. So that's what you're walking away with. That's the annual net operating income. So that's your purchase price. There's your cap rate. So it differs a little bit. The vacancy rate. I forgot to factor that in. And then I don't see, well, yeah. So it's a little bit different from theirs. They say it's 2,600 here, 26,000 here, and he has 38,000 here. My numbers are probably a little more conservative from what he has, because he has most of these factor in. I factor in the management fee and the maintenance fund as well. So that'll take off a few $1,000s, obviously. So my number is a little more conservative. It shows me a 5.2% cap rate, but I would still say this is a good investment. You'll make enough to pay back your down payment in 4.7 years and pay off the loan in 14 years if you decide to put all your income into paying off the loan. And then yeah, I would say that's a good investment. Based off of these numbers, it's cash flowing phenomenally, great cap rate, good amount of money each year that you'll get on a conservative investment too. I've seen the house property myself. It's fantastically maintained, and everything's updated. So it's a cash cow. This is currently listed. I would suggest to reach out to me or my friend who has it listed, Scott Brown. And we can set up an appointment for you to check that out. Yeah, this just a fantastic opportunity here. So let us know if you want to check out anything else. I'm going to go ahead and do another example from Zillow, because that's probably what you'll be working with since you don't have MLS access unless you decide to work with us. But Zillow is still a great resource to use for doing your own personal research, I guess. So I pulled this example from Zillow, and I did verify on the MLS that this is an actual listing. Sometimes you need to do that with Zillow. However, it is currently under contract based off of the MLS update. It'll be a good example for us to use. So we have a 3-bedroom, 3-bath here in Greeley. Gives you a sale price of $240,000. Says your estimated mortgage will be $996, so I'll use that number to put in the cap rate calculator to factor it in. And then now let's just go ahead. Oh, here we go. We have tax history. We can use that. There we go. So we'll use that for our taxes, fire tools, home expenses. I mean, I'll use the hypothetical numbers from the first example for our expenses since it's a pretty similar average sort of property for Greeley. So 3 bedrooms, we'll estimate you can do about, I think $600 a month per bedroom is a good estimate. So we'll do 1,800. Actually, I think 2,000 is a more reasonable estimate for, I mean, Greeley rents, you can easily ask for that here. Insurance for that size house, usually around 1,000 or 1,100. Taxes, as we saw, $1,177 for last year. Taxes are incredibly low in Colorado, which is awesome. Vacancy rate, we'll use the same number. Management fee, 10%. Maintenance fund, 12. We'll say water is probably, we'll average it out to like $80 a month for a 3-bedroom house. Let's say you don't pay that for your tenants in that house, and say you do like a lawn service for, I don't know, $40 a month. So that'll be your net operating income for that property. Which is not too shabby. But let's put in that purchase price, and we'll use that mortgage estimate as well. So there's your mortgage. It kind of decreases what you'll be walking away with, but if you're an owner occupant, that's good to know. And so, yeah, your net operating income will be $2,000 a year, $2,800 a year, which isn't that great. Cap rate of 1.1%. It'll take you about 21 years to make your money back from your down payment, and 64 years to pay off your loan, which is really not great. But that doesn't factor in the amortized payment here on your monthly loan payment. So this number is a bit off. However, yeah, this is kind of an example of not a good investment. Right now, Greeley houses are priced a little too high. Like I said, it's a seller's market, so everything's going to be a little inflated, which is great for sellers. So these kind of smaller houses aren't that great. The higher unit properties are a little bit better for cash flowing, just because you get more of an economy of scale when you have 4 or more units in a house. And so, yeah, that kind of sums up cap rate. Some things to consider when looking at cap rate numbers. There can be undercapitalized properties or poorly managed properties. So, you might see a low cap rate in an area kind of a distance away from the downtown area. So that might indicate, it's not making that much money. But a low cap rate doesn't mean it's a less risky investment. A low cap rate might mean it's poorly managed, and so it's not making as much money as it should be. And then I've heard of some investors shying away from high cap rates in downtown areas, thinking that high cap rate is showing a riskier investment. But you're in the downtown area, so it shouldn't be that risky. Anyway, they shy away from it because of that high number. I mean, that just could mean it's a cash cow of a rental property and worth looking into. And after that, there's your debt coverage ratio. Your debt coverage ratio kind of shows you if you can pay your monthly mortgage each month. It's a good number to know when you're looking for investment property, especially if you want them to be more passive. You better know your debt coverage ratio on top of your cap rate. And I'll go over that in another video. Yeah, so like I mentioned, feel free to use this calculator. I'll have a link to it in the video, and it should be able to help you, do your research. And then, yeah, that's all I have for today. My name is Sean Byrne, and this has been Norco Homebuyers. And yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks for tuning in.